What will the Raiders do with pick 13? Well, we'll talk about it. Before we dive into it, though, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. And, of course, be sure to follow me on social media at JKBogan. Let's get started. So the Las Vegas Raiders have the 13th overall pick in this draft. They also have the 44th overall pick, a second rounder, a third rounder, a fourth, a sixth, and 2 sevenths. So we'll start first, area of, I would say, need quarterback. Now, that does not necessarily mean that I am sitting here saying, the Raiders should go after a quarterback right now. That is not at all what I'm saying. But Gardner Minshew was signed to a 2-year deal. So he has 2 years. Should be in no hurry. Aiden O'Connell is under contract for 3 years. So both guys last year started games at quarterback. And I could see the Raiders trading back to the end of the first, back into the first round to get that 5th-year option and acquire either Michael Penix Jr. or Bo Nix. I don't necessarily think they should do that, but I could definitely see it. The other quarterback on the roster is Anthony Brown Jr., who doesn't really pose a threat to either of the two guys that I mentioned. Aiden O'Connell is going to try and battle Gardner Minshew for the starting job. I would imagine Gardner Minshew is going to win that. And I think they like Aiden O'Connell more than giving credit for. So I'm going to say that they definitely don't take a quarterback at pick 13. Next up is the wide receiver position, where I actually really like what you have with the 2 wide receivers. Devontae Adams, one of the best receivers in football. Jacoby Myers, one of the more underrated receivers in football. I like Trey Tucker, a 3rd rounder from last year. I like Christian Wilkerson and DJ Turner as depth, but I could see them adding another body to the room, whether that comes via the draft in the first round or later on. I can still see it. So I'm going to say that they probably take a receiver in day 2 to compete for that slot role with Trey Tucker. Maybe they go after somebody like Roman Wilson or, Jacob Cowing. I could see that. But that's how I see them. That's the direction I see them going in. So that leads us to only 2 positions left here. I know it might be a surprise to some. I don't have interior defensive line as a need. I don't have edge. Not saying that they couldn't add one of those guys. I mean, they could absolutely go out and be like, you know what? We have a really high grade on Byron Murphy. Let's just pick him up. He's the best available on our board. Or, same could be said about an edge defender, even though they're pretty loaded there, with guys like Malcolm Kuntz and obviously Max Crosby, and they added Tyree Wilson last year in the first round. So, they probably won't go that route. Offensive tackle, though, we have to have a conversation about, because Colton Miller is locked in to be their left tackle. And I think he's going to get an extension. He's signed until 2026. But I think he'll get an extension when, it's all said and done there. Currently, the Raiders' right tackle is Thayer Munford. With all due respect to him, he's not, really imposing as a right tackle right now to be starting. There's not a lot of depth behind these guys. So I can definitely see the Raiders taking a tackle. They could take Fuaga, they could take Guyton, they could take Mims or Latham. They're going to take a guy, I think, if they take tackle, they're going to take a guy that can play right tackle, okay? I still could see Fashanu if he falls this far, or if they trade up a little bit. They have the ammunition to trade up. They have all their picks, essentially. So there is that. Now, cornerback, you have your pick of the litter, I think, at this point. There's a chance maybe 1 or 2 corners have gone off the board. At this point, though, there's a chance that all of them are still available. Quinion Mitchell is my number 1 corner. Terrion Arnold, really like him. Cooper DeJean, Nate Wiggins, Kool-Aid McKinstry. There's a lot of options here for the Raiders. I like the combo of Jack Jones and Jacorian Bennett. Don't get me wrong. I think Bennett has tremendous upside, and Jack Jones is, a playmaker. With that said, I'm also a fan of Nate Hobbs, as their slot corner. But Quinion Mitchell and Terrion Arnold would be the top cornerbacks in this draft, and I would say would be better cornerbacks than anybody on the roster. Maybe Jack Jones would be better by a little bit. But I think both are arguably a BPA pick, best player available, and would also upgrade a building an impressive secondary, Trayvon Merrick and adding Marcus Epps. I mean, I like their secondary, to be honest with you. So that is that on the needs at pick 13. But they have the draft capital to trade up, like I mentioned. They also have the draft capital to move down, which, I mean, pretty much anybody does, you know. But I could see them moving down. I could see them trading up. I don't think there's a wrong answer here. I would say that's wrong. I'd say there is a wrong answer. The Raiders, under no circumstances, should be drafting one of these quarterbacks at pick 13. I think that is an absolute reach. You have two guys I would trust more than Penix and Nix to start a game right now as it stands. You have them multiple years, you know. I just don't really see that being much of a need. So that is my opinion there. What do I think they do, and what would I do? Well, for the Raiders, what I would do is obviously avoid quarterback. I would take a long look at wide receiver. But end of the day, I'm taking Quinion Mitchell or I'm taking Fuaga, because I think either of those guys, Fuaga or Latham, either of those guys I think fits like a glove for what you're looking for. I think Terrion Arnold would be where they went, or they would go after Olu Fashanu if he's there. But that's just me. And I'm not against Olu Fashanu at all. I have a higher grade on him than most of these guys that I listed at tackle. But I think the natural transition to right tackle, since I don't see them moving Colton Miller, the natural transition to right tackle would be Fuaga, Latham, Fatanu, Amarius Mims, and Tyler Guyton. It's been a very predominant right tackle class that we're not really used to. So there's that. But yeah, I think if I'm the Falcons, I like going after Quinion Mitchell, though, because I think their corners, while good, I think could get an upgrade here. And if you're drafting a guy who is going to give you the 4 years with the fifth year option of flexibility to balance out your cap, but in addition to that, he can be your best corner on the roster, that's a tough position. You need to man that, because we don't know what the Chargers offense is going to look like, and we don't know what Denver's offense is going to look like, although it has some big names. We know Kansas City, and you have to face them twice a year. So you do have to have a good secondary, and I think they have shown they have the makings of that, but I think this would go a long way. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know yours below, and I'll see you guys soon. Later, folks.